Welcome, Aries, to your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. From May the 18th through to June the 28th, just short of 6 full weeks, Mars, the planet of action and passion, and your ruler, moves through the Earth sign of Taurus. We can talk about Mars in Taurus generally, but what will it mean for you personally? I'm going to share on screen the event chart from an Aries perspective of the exact moment that Mars arrives in the sign, but also all the other planetary influences, because that will shape what you can expect over the next 6 weeks. We've also got two upcoming influences. One which could be quite challenging through the last part of May, but one fabulous opportunity towards the end of June. By the end of the video, you'll have a much clearer understanding of how to work with this energy, but also what you can expect in terms of your vitality, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen is your event chart and Mars at 0 degrees. But let's just briefly retrospect Mars's journey through your sign. It started on April the 9th. Mars in Aries is very much about your identity, and it's very much about the passion you have for the individual ideas which reinforce that identity. It can give you a real desire to pursue life in a very direct, action-orientated way, but it immediately met with the dreamy, drifting energies of Neptune. So that may have just taken a little bit of the propulsion out of the equation. Then Mars met with Saturn, asking you to be very single-minded and disciplined and narrow your focus in terms of the things you were doing. Now, Mars in your own sign could have inspired you to start something fresh or inject more energy into something ongoing. And recently, it has really given you much more opportunity to get moving in a very dynamic way. But intriguingly, right at the end of its journey through the sign of Taurus, it's come into a conjunction with Chiron. Chiron has been in your sign full time since February 2019. It's going to be moving on June the 19th for 3 brief months into Taurus. It will return to you before going back into Taurus next year. But Chiron's been asking you to work on your identity. Now, Mars has a reputation of being quite impatient and direct. Chiron, of course, is much more complex. But if there has been a wound within you in terms of how attractive you are, how much stamina you have, how much impact you have had a chance to reflect on that over the last few days. Because one of the things that I think Mars moving into Taurus gives you the chance to do is convert the ideas and the energy that you've been generating recently into something more tangible. The sign of Taurus is an earth sign. The second zodiac sign of the overall heavens is very much to do with the foundations of life. It can be to do with our values, our sense of self-worth, but also everyday money. And if you have been coming up with some brilliant ideas, understandably, you want to convert them into hard evidence, because earth signs like tangible outcomes, but all that effort is going to bring you a reward. And it can, over the next 6 weeks, for sure do that. But the trick, because the ruler of the sign is Pisces, which can be very sensual, the trick is to make sure that you take each win on its own merits. Because one of the things that Mars's conjunction with Chiron could have done is almost see you try too hard, and not everything we do will actually work out. But that doesn't mean to say you're not on the right track. For instance, Aries, Mars forges a perfect link with Venus, the planet of money and the ruler of Taurus, and also the moon as he arrives. So your ability as a communicator to use a degree of charm and subtlety, but also be in tune with the more emotional dimension, is highlighted by this alliance. And strictly speaking, because Venus is on the anaretic degree, by Tuesday, she moves into Cancer, and the sextile with the position of Mars is absolutely exact. So that's the first upcoming influence to tell you about, and it's a really good one. And Mars there can certainly give you an appreciation of creature comforts. And over the next 6 weeks, if you do enjoy good food and good wine, that's going to be something that does feature for you. However, if you have been on a strict diet, it may get much more difficult to resist consuming anything that you find remotely yummy. But what we also have on this event is that Mercury, the planet of communication, is very close to Uranus, the planet of innovation. So your mind can be switching up a gear. So even if there is a plan that you've had, it doesn't mean to say you shouldn't adapt it. And that's where Mars in Taurus can have a little bit of a weakness. It's a fixed sign and it can be quite stubborn. Obdurate is the word I would use. And that could mean that although it gives you tremendous perseverance, it will be important to be able to flex. And I feel that that link with Mercury and Uranus is really encouraging you to do that, not least when it comes to your long-term plan. Pluto and Mercury in a very penetrative link. That's tremendous for reading information, but really getting to the nub of what it's about. But being open-minded is important. So although you can be very persistent and consistent in that application of your drive and passion, you do need to know there may be times where you just need to do the odd swerve. It won't necessarily be an exact straight line. But one of the things it may give you is that extra ability to be very persevering. You have a reputation as someone who's into situations, creates a lot of drama, has the vision, the enthusiasm, but then you can lose interest. The chances are over the next 6 weeks, you're not going to do that. You are going to apply in a very, very consistent way your determination to get a return. Now, that return doesn't have to be financial, although Mars in Taurus can have a preoccupation with the material world. It can be a determination to feel better about your creative talents. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But generally, Mars in Taurus is a bit more towards the material world. But what is important, even though there is a part of your nature that can fire up at times, and that's unlikely to be so obvious over the next 6 weeks. Through the last 10 days of May, Mars steps forwards and comes into a square with Pluto. And this is one of the most complex squares in astrology. We're talking about the two ruling planets of Scorpio. Some astrologers even feel that Pluto is the higher spiritual ruler of Aries. But it's certainly a time when the more futuristic energies of Pluto and Aquarius, which is around our network, can be around technology, can be around how we communicate and interact. There may be something that you're developing that you feel very attached to, Mars in Taurus, where you come into contact with someone who sees it very differently to you. But because Pluto is also in a fixed sign, this can create an enormously powerful standoff where both people don't want to budge 1 inch, and that's entirely possible towards the end of this month. It may be to do with a financial matter where your ideals, Pluto in the 11th house, don't match up to your expectations in the material world. Or it may be that you experience somebody else who you feel isn't very fair in terms of respecting the amount of effort and grit that you're investing. So just be conscious of that. It is a really important influence. However, as we get to the end of June, what Mars does is forges a tremendous link with Jupiter. Jupiter, just at the very end of its journey through the sign of Cancer, where it is in exaltation, but when it entered, was clashing badly with Saturn, from the early part of June last year. It has or will do at the start of June forge a quite enchanting link with Venus, which could be very good for reshaping your home or family dynamics. But as Mars moves forwards and it's in the latter degrees of Taurus, it will be forging a perfect sextile to Jupiter. So if you are trying to do something in terms of construction, remolding where you live, wanting to make your immediate environment come to life, and it could all start to come together really in the way that you want by the end of June, even if you had encountered quite a lot of frustration at the outset of the journey. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of work, energy, relationships, and finances next, Aries. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope report. It's now 3 for the price of 1. The one you order is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that play out in our lives, but get a more intimate understanding of them and work with them better future forwards. Free, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. If you don't have your North Node in the latter part of Pisces or the early part of Aries in your natal chart, your draconic chart can look very different indeed. And it helps us to think about our personality in a different kind of way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, please see that on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Uranus 78-year solar return Cazimi video, please see that on the screen. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. And if you get to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fired to your device each morning, please see that below too. You can get your early day celestial update each morning. So to summarize, when it comes to your financial situation, I think the prospects are very good because Mars is linking to Venus, the planet of money, at the start of this journey in a very enabling sextile. Also, if you recall, at the end of the journey, Mars forges a fantastic link to the planet of fortune. So I think that's very, very helpful. When it comes to the obstacles that you could face towards the end of May, it's possible that your long-term plan is not quite viable and you may need to flex. It's also important not to be too expectant of getting rewards financially if you are trying to set your future direction in a bit more of an idealistic way. If your concentration is very much on the material world, the great asset that Mars will give you is endurance, steadfastness, and a patience of application, which can be excellent. As far as your energy is concerned, Saturn is still in your first house. So one of the things you must do is keep your focus narrow. If you spread yourself too thinly and try to do too much, that can cause issues. As far as your love life is concerned, the fact that Mars forges a stunning link with Venus at the start of this journey, which becomes exact the day after, is very much a good portent. But you know, as much as you may be attracted to someone, what you're really wanting is a match up with your values. And if you can also feel very comfortable with them, that's a great thing too. If you're in an existing relationship, I certainly feel all the Gemini energy is asking you to try to recharge it by doing different things together, reinvigorating the spark. But generally speaking, I think if you are comfortable and can enjoy good food and good wine, this can be a very sensual transition for you. And as far as your professional prospects are concerned, I think this is an intriguing part of your situation at the moment. You're someone who likes to be very much at the heart of things. And if you are in a situation where you are, I think you're going to be absolutely fine. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, this could be a time of profound change. And that may mean, in terms of your financial picture, that it feels a bit vulnerable at times. But have faith in the process. We can't stop the fact that there's so much technology creeping into work. What you can do is just Look ahead and see where the trends are developing. And that's something Mars usually gives you an enormous appreciation for. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure being with you. All the best and look forward to seeing you again soon.